Hello, everyone. Welcome to Northshore. Happy Sunday. This is the best day of the week.
It really is. I love being here. It's so great.
We are so excited that you're back, or maybe this is your first time joining us. We want to welcome you. Here at Northshore, we believe that Jesus can change everything for anyone, and we know that he is moving today and is going to work through a lot of lives today. So we are excited about that.
So thankful for that.
But my name is Samantha.
And I'm Jackie, and I'm so glad you're here. We, particularly if you are here for the first time, we would love an opportunity to meet you.
Yes.
If you're here on our Kirkland campus, you can stop by the guest services table afterwards. There'll be a number of us here, and we would love to be able to chat with you and hear a little bit about your story. And if you're watching online, let us know. You can drop it in the chat. Let us know it's your first time. You can also text Northshore, the word North Shore, all one word, to 97,000. And that'll let us know that you're here and we can connect with you that way. And it's really important because you matter, people matter. We want to be a chance just to get to know you.
And I think it's been so fun, like every single week, especially on our campus, we've gotten to meet several new people every week.
It's incredible.
And we have people texting in that they're new, joining us online. So just do it. Just text us.
You're not the only one. It's many every week, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we're so glad you're here. And Jackie, I'm glad that you're here on pre-service this morning.
Always good to be here.
So for those who haven't met you yet, I mean, you've been around Northshore for a while. You're also, if you've been in person, Jackie's running around the campus on Sunday mornings, just doing all the things.
We call it a speed walk. We try to just keep it.
Speed walk, I like
speed
that.
Walk, yes.
But what is your role here on the team?
Yeah, it is such a joy to be on this team. I love being able to serve Northshore, serve you, and ultimately serve Jesus. And so my role here is just to be part of the life group team. We have an incredible life groups that meet all over the area. And I just get to be part of helping support make those happen. And so I'm just going to say it right now. If you are not in a life group, let's help you get connected. I mean, really, it's just so important for us to be in community, and it's vital, and you should do it. So,
we're both in life groups.
We are. I love my life group.
Yes.
Love my life group.
That's awesome. Well, that's actually
probably one of my other best days of the week is life group days.
Life group day.
Sunday's great. But.
That's true. I can definitely say that as well. Well, Jackie, we have something kind of fun that we're going to do. In fact, it's called the Wheel of Fun, and it is back. We did the Wheel of Fun a couple months ago, and it was so fun that we wanted to bring it back.
I love it. I like games.
We are actually going to spin this wheel, whatever it lands on, we get to talk about, or it's something for you all to do. So let's just give the wheel a little spin. What are we going to land on?
I love that it's not just us playing. You guys get to be part of it too. It's
That's
something for you to do.
That's
not homework, but a way to be an activity, to be involved.
And the first one is something that you can do. So if you are watching, if you're joining us online, let us know. Where are you watching from? Go over into the chat. I know some of you watch and maybe you're just not interested in talking in the chat, but let us know. We want to know where you're watching from, where you're joining us from, because our online hosts love to be able to interact.
And I love that there are people watching with us from all over.
Yes.
Like within Kirkland and the Puget Sound to across Washington, across the states, across the world.
Yes.
And it's such a joy to hear that. Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next one. Wheel of Fun.
Ooh, what's it gonna be?
We need some Wheel of Fun music. Brian, maybe you can do that. Oh, life groups.
Well, we've already talked about that, but really it's because they're important.
Yes.
They are important.
Yes.
So hop on the website, sign up. We've got lots of groups, all stages, all ages, meeting at all different times and days throughout the week. Really, there's a group for you.
Absolutely. So, if you're not in a life group, get in a life group, and we can help you do that. northshore.church/connect. Or, like we said, text us, Northshore to 97,000, or come over to our guest services table. We will get you into a life group. Okay, next, what's it gonna be? Please don't be the same thing we already did. What's your favorite worship song lately?
Oh,
you have one, right?
I do. Okay, so during service, we often sing this song called Reckless Love by Corey Asbury.
Yes.
Love it. I think I'm saying his last name the right way. He has another song called Canyons, which has just been on repeat recently.
Ooh.
And in it, it talks about how wide the canyons are and how great the oceans are. And none of that compares to God's love for us. And it just speaks to my heart. And we had the opportunity to see the Grand Canyon recently. And so I picture that and I go, that isn't even comparable to
doesn't even
God's
come
love.
close.
Like
Yeah.
God's love for us
That's
is
so
so
good.
abundant.
Ooh,
It's
I have to
beautiful.
check that one out.
It's good. Got a
Well-
little saxophone in there.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, one that we recently started singing here at Northshore, it's called Hallelujah Here Below. And I think it's just such a powerful moment of worship I've just experienced recently, is singing that song together, especially in person, as a whole, church community. So
I will
love
say
that one.
it is different being on campus.
It is.
It is
It's
different. And I
definitely
love
is.
the precautions we have and things like that.
Yeah.
But if you are in driving distance, can I just say, come try it out.
We
You'll
want you
feel
to be here.
safe and distance, but that's it's different being in person.
Yeah,
It is.
It's been so good to worship together in person again. We might have time for maybe one or two more. Let's see what we got. Share the service.
Oh.
Another thing that you can do right now, if you are watching online, click that share button on Facebook or text out the link from the website. If you're watching on YouTube, you can share that as well. If you're sitting in a chair on campus right now, pull out your phone. Just share the service. You don't know who might need to hear this message today. So
I think Sam is saying that it's like that's your way to play along. So if you want to play the game, share the service.
Come on.
It's just the rules of the game. So
exactly.
it's good though. It's been fun for me to share on Facebook the service and then have friends comment on that
Yeah.
or check it out that I never would have thought to invite, but who have seen
Right.
it. So
Yeah.
it's been sweet to open up conversations.
That's great. I spun it again and it said life groups. I think we have time for
One more time with the life groups.
Favorite message from our series, I Can Relate.
This has been
This is our current message series that we're doing right now.
Such a good
Yeah.
series. I feel like week after week. But last week, Scotty talked about the plank and the speck
Yes.
and how we need to adjust the way we interact and view other people.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly
so
thinking about,
good.
he talked about confession and compassion and advocacy and how that changes where we go.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
good.
absolutely. I think the week before too with Wolfgang, and he talked to Kevin,
Kevin's
and hearing Kevin's story and just how, we have often this plan that we think our life is going to go, and when it doesn't go that way, how can we trust God with all of those changes and things that happen?
Sees it all.
Yeah, that was super
Yeah.
encouraging for me. So, well, that's a great segue because last week Scotty actually continued our message series, I Can Relate, and we are going to take a look back at that right now. So go ahead and check this out.
I don't care how dark the sin is or how deep the shame goes, for those of you who are in Christ, for those of you who received his love, for those of you who have trusted your life to him, there is no condemnation. And while the world might cancel you or the church might judge you, God has grace for you because he is your advocate. He has justly judged every sin. They've all been nailed to that cross and buried in that tomb. And now Jesus sits at the right hand of God and is interceding on your behalf as your what? Your advocate.
Well, like we said, this series has just been awesome, and this week is no different. We are in for a treat. Scotty actually got to sit down and talk with doctors Les and Leslie Parrott and just have a conversation about marriage and relationships.
And I love that this conversation isn't just about marriage. What they talk about is applicable for all relationships in all seasons,
Yeah.
in all areas of your life.
Yep.
So whether you're married or not, there is goodness in here for us.
Yes.
And
Be
it's
sure to get out your phone and open your notes.
Yes.
Or get out a pen and paper because you are going to want to take notes.
I feel like, I don't know about you, but I've been doing that in every one of the messages
Yeah.
in this I Can Relate series. And I'm so thankful we're continuing that today.
It's been so good, and we can just go on and on about how good it's been, but we're actually going to get into it right now.
I love that.
So the team is just about to get started. Again, welcome to Northshore. We are so excited that you're here.
Hey, welcome to Northshore. My name's Brandon, Man, it's so good to be with you today. We're going to learn a new song together. It's an opportunity for us to sing some truth over any adversity in our life. I hope it encourages you as we catch on. Let's all sing together. There is no shadow that has ever overcome your light. There is no rival that could ever stand against your might. You've always been with us. Every battle you've already won. You've already won. There is no weapon that is ever locked on you. There is no army with the power to conquer truth. You've always been with us. Every battle you've already won. You've already won. Show me one thing you can do. Show me a mountain you can't move. He's the God of the breakthrough. Anything is possible. Yeah. Show me one thing that's too hard. Show me waters he can't part. He's the God of the breakthrough, and anything is possible. Is possible. There is a kingdom that's advancing at the speed of light, and in his kingdom, every dead thing is bound to rise. Oh God, our Redeemer, he is faithful to revive. Oh, he will revive. Oh, show me one thing he can't do. Show me a mountain he can't move. He's the God of the breakthrough, and anything is possible. Show me one thing that's too hard. Show me waters he can't part. He's the God of the breakthrough, and anything is possible. All of my fear I will turn into praise. Shake off despair as I sing out your name. A victory dance I will dance out in faith. I will crush disappointment and break every chain. Oh, all of my fear I will turn into praise. Shake off despair as I sing out your name. A victory dance I will dance out in faith. I will crush disappointment and break every chain. And all of my fear I will turn into praise. Shake off despair as I sing out your name. A victory dance I will dance out in faith. I will crush disappointment. Show me one presence there is peace. In your presence we are free. There's no better place to be. There's no better place to be. In your presence there is truth. In your presence mountains move. We forever run to you. We forever run to you. And in your presence there is peace. In your presence we are free. There's no better place to be. There's no better place to be. In your presence there is truth. In your presence mountains move. We forever run to you. We forever run to you. Honor that's in heaven. Spirit of God, pour out. Our hearts are wide open. Jesus, we need you now. Come, have your way in this place. Break our walls down. Spirit of God, pour out. Honor that's in heaven. Jesus, we need you now. Yeah.
You were the Word at the beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you are Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. Come on, let's sing this out together. You didn't want heaven without us. You didn't want heaven without us. So Jesus, you brought heaven down. Hallelujah. My sin was great, your love was greater. So what could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. Yes, what a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ.
What an amazing way to start the morning together. Hey, welcome to Northshore. We are so glad that you are joining us wherever you're joining us from. If it's your first time here at Northshore, or maybe it's your first time in church, way to go. What a huge step. We're so glad that you're here, and we'd love to connect with you. You can actually text the word Northshore to 97000, and we'd love to be able to follow up. Or if you're here on campus this weekend, you could stop by guest services as well. So glad that you're here. You know, here at Northshore, we believe that every person matters to God and that God has a plan for every person. And I believe the best way to experience that plan, God's purpose in your life, is by finding a way to serve other people. You know, we have teams here from media production to kids and students where you can serve and use your gifts and make a difference. And coming out of COVID, it's even more important that we find ways to give our lives away, not just because it's rewarding, but because it's life-changing. In fact, I just talked to someone this week in our church who's part of a team that serves in the Washington Correction Center for Women. And someone from the prison called and said, hey, we need clothing donations. So this person took that information and posted it on our Together for Team site. And within a few days, get this, people had donated 103 shirts, 91 coats, 140 pairs of pants, and 27 pairs of shoes. All because one person said, I think I can make a difference. So what if this week that one person was you? What if you stepped out to make a difference? We'd love to partner with you in that. You can find out more about serving in our teams at northshore.church. I hope you will. And by the way, stories like that, these stories of life change, are possible because of your amazing generosity. If you give regularly here at Northshore, thank you. Your giving's making an eternal difference. And for those of you who haven't given yet, I just want to challenge you, take a risk and take that step. It's real simple. You could give online or via text. Just follow the instructions that are on your screen right now. And thank you, Northshore, for being such an amazingly generous church with your time and your resources. You know, I don't know what kind of week you've had, but we want to be here together because we need God. We just need him in our lives, don't we? So before we jump into the message, I just want to take a moment to pray. Would you pray with me? God, we need you today. We need your power and love and grace in our lives in every way. I don't know what the stories are like going on right now, but I know we need you. And we've all been watching not just the challenges here in our lives, but around the world, the escalating violence in Israel, other challenges where we need you to intervene. We need your peace and your justice and your direction and your grace. God, be with us this week as we give our lives to you. Help use us to be a testament of your grace and your truth that our world needs. God, we love you so much, and we need to hear from you this morning. So speak into our lives now the words you want us to hear. And we ask this in your name, and everybody said, amen. Hey, we've been in this series called I Can Relate. And one of the most relatable issues over the past year has been stress and struggles in relationships. I've heard that from people who are single, people who are married, people who are dating, people who are tired of dating. And even I can tell you, Nina and I have had our share of challenges in our relationship our marriage this year as well, which is why I am so excited this morning that we get to hear from my new friends, Doctors Les and Leslie Parrott. The Parrotts are best-selling authors of books like Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts and The Good Fight. And they've committed their lives, their ministry to helping couples and individuals get unstuck and find their way forward when it feels like there is no way forward. So whether you just need a word of encouragement or you feel like you're at the end of your rope, I am so glad you're here. God has a word for you. So without further ado, here we go. Doctors Les and Leslie Parrott. Take a look. Well, Les and Leslie Parrott, thank you so much for being here and being part of this conversation and being here at Northshore with us. Just so grateful to have you.
Honored to be here.
Well, yeah, thank you.
And I got to say off the top, I mean, we love your church. This is not our first time here. We've done
That's right.
several events here for couples, and it's great to be with you and do this today.
Yeah.
Especially in the midst of all that we've been through. It
Right.
feels so fun to have these moments.
Hey,
Right.
you're one of the first people that we've seen in a year and a half. So, yeah.
So good. Well, then I should say welcome back.
Yeah, thanks.
It is a privilege to be with you. And I just got to tell the both of you, Nina and I actually read your book, Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts, before we got married. And
Love that.
I actually recommended or asked her to read it with me before we even talked about marriage. 'Cause
Wow.
I'm kind of passive, and that was my way of kind of nudge the subject forward. But she did, and it went well, and it was a great resource for us. We still talk about it. It's
I
such a great
love
book.
hearing
And you've been married how many
that.
years
We've
now?
been married for almost 7 years now.
Look how well
So-
it's working.
Well,
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
going to take full credit for every good day you've
full
had.
credit, and I'll call you if there needs to be some blame if things don't go well. So, but I know you've been such an amazing resource to literally thousands of couples around the country and around the world. So thanks for the work that you do. For the people that don't know you or don't know you well, could you share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah. We've been married. First of all, we have the same name, which is confusing to people.
Yes.
So
Very odd.
I'm Leslie. She's
I'm
Leslie.
Leslie. Yep.
And it's even more complex because I'm the third, which means my dad's name is Leslie. My grandfather's name is Leslie. Then I married a Leslie.
Wow.
So-
Family reunions are a confusing experience.
Well,
when you're-
and when it came to naming our first son, there was no choice. We had to name him John. So
Thank goodness
John-
we had that.
John
Right.
Leslie. Though.
Yeah.
We had to sneak it in there. So, but yeah, married.
Yeah, we're coming up on 37. You're 37 in June.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Crazy.
get ready.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Start
That doesn't seem
brainstorming.
possible.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but yeah, we write books and Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. I think we wrote that, man, I don't know how many years ago, but it's more than, I think, 2 million couples at this point have gone through
Wow.
that book, which is crazy.
yeah.
And that's what got us on Oprah and Barbara Walters and Tom Broga and all the rest. It just opened up this national platform to talk about relationships
Right.
and marriage. And so we started doing speaking as a result of that around the country. And these days we do an event called Fight Night, which is all about conflict.
Right. Yeah, which is so fun. And, we get to grapple with couples on what happens when things unravel and how can
Yeah.
you turn it into something that actually strengthens
Yeah,
you. So
so
that's fun.
good.
But I mean, I would say, even that saving your marriage before it starts came right out of our own story and
Yeah.
our desire for couples to experience joy together.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I'm a psychologist. Leslie's a marriage and family therapist, and we've taught at the university level for a number of years and that kind of thing. We started a company with Neil Clark Warren in Southern California a little over 20 years ago, and it began like this. Neil, we were having dinner in Pasadena, and Neil said, "You know this new thing called the internet?" And we said, "Yeah." He said, "I wonder if we could help people match online to have more success in marriage." Well, that turned into eHarmony.
That's
And
right.
so that was an incredible ride as well. So
Wow.
that's a little glimpse into what we do.
Yeah.
These days, we help couples, especially on the assessment front. We turn that Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts into an assessment we call Symbis and another one called Better Love. And so
It's great.
our BHAG, you know what a BHAG is?
I do a big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yes. Our BHAG is to see the divorce rate reduced by 1/3
Wow.
in our lifetime, particularly in local churches, just like yours.
Yeah.
And we're more optimistic about that than
yeah.
ever. You know that for every single percentage point that we drop the divorce rate, the lives of more than 1 million children are positively impacted. That's for one single percentage
I know.
point.
It's just
So
astonishing.
can you imagine if we dropped it, double digits? It'd be one of the greatest social revolutions the church has ever seen.
Unbelievable.
So that's our BHAG. That's what we're passionate about, and that's all our efforts are kind of funneled in that direction.
So good. Well, thanks for being here. And as a church, we want to be part of that same mission.
Yeah.
know
you
so
do.
I'm so
Yeah.
grateful.
We feel that partnership.
So I'm excited again to be in this conversation, not just as a pastor of a community, but as a husband who wants to have a great marriage. And one of the things I hear from people all the time is, I just want to have a great marriage. In fact, I'll hear that from people regardless of their faith background. How do I have a great marriage? And yet that can be such a hard journey.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so here's a simple one. What's the single greatest obstacle or barrier that you experience for people in being able to have or build or experience a great marriage?
I did not see that question coming. I thought almost always the question is, what's the one thing I can do to make my relationship better? You want to know what is making it worse.
Yeah, what's the obstacle? What's the barrier?
What's the barrier? I mean, in a word, empathy is actually the answer to both of those things.
Hmm.
Because I think what happens is we get so self-absorbed, and that becomes the obstacle,
Yeah,
right? To really having that deeply fulfilling marriage. So empathy, which is the polar opposite of being self-absorbed, is the capacity to project yourself into your spouse's life, really see the world through their eyes, and it just changes organically everything about how you experience them and your time together.
Yeah, the happiest couples through the whole pandemic are the couples that have enjoyed mutual empathy, that are conscious, they're deliberate about putting themselves in each other's shoes.
Interesting.
And it's the single hardest skill set that
Oh,
we have as
for
human
sure.
beings.
I was going to say, so what's the stepping towards empathy for
Yeah.
folks who are listening? Okay, that sounds good on paper, empathy. I'll go home and try that.
Yeah.
Well, first of all,
what's
I-
that look like?
Abstract,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And first of all, I can guarantee you there's people that are listening to us right now going, oh yeah, I got that one. Check. Let's go on to the
Empathy.
next one. What's
And
I
then
knew
someone's
that.
going like this to the right. They're like, wait a minute, I don't think you've got that down so well.
But I mention that because the research shows most of us think we're much better at empathy than we really are. We think we're there. And sometimes it's because we're halfway there. I often tell my counseling students, huge difference between sympathy and empathy.
Yeah.
Sympathy is standing on the shore and throwing out a life ring to somebody that's struggling in the water. And everybody that's a decent human being will do that. That just
Right.
flows with the adrenaline. Empathy, much more risky. That's diving into the water, risking your own well-being to bring that person back to shore. And not everybody does that. In fact, that's so rare. What do we call those people? They're heroes, right? And it's just as heroic when we do that in our marriage relationship or our parenting relationship or our friendships. And so I ask, I won't put you on the spot with, it's Nina.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when was, just think about this, when was the last time you intentionally, consciously said, I want to really see the world from her perspective, right? You don't have to answer that because I know it was years
I
ago.
do that every single waking moment of my
Every waking
marriage.
Where's the
Les,
lightning
what
gonna
are you saying? If
You're right.
she was here, she would say, Scotty's never not done that in my life. Oh, it's so true. One of the things
It's a
I've actually read
challenge.
the phrase before, an empathy standoff. And that couples get in
I
a place
like
where it's
that.
like,
Yeah.
who's going to go first?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm open to empathy, but you have to go first.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they just get stuck.
Well, and that's a great way to put it because empathy begets empathy. When you do that for me, I
Yeah.
do that for you and vice versa. There's a synergy
Yeah.
that happens in
But
that.
it takes that brave moment, where you get a sharp reaction from your spouse, and instead of just responding, you go, okay, let me remember they didn't sleep well last night.
Right.
They're disrupted.
Or they have this huge project at work or
Yeah.
whatever it is. As soon as you kind of just work at going, oh man, if I was walking in
I
their
was
shoes
in
right
their
now.
shoes.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
And you asked, how do you do it? Here's the key. I said we confuse it with sympathy and empathy, the two. Sympathy is all heart. It's all feeling out there. And what we forget is
It's
empathy.
a gusher.
Yes, it is. And so we have our heart, but also our head. We have to analyze as well as sympathize. It's like 2 wings of an airplane. If you want empathy to get off the ground, you've got to have that sense of, feel into it, but also have the objectivity to stand back objectively. And usually we're pretty good at one or the other. And it's a gender thing too, because men are better at analyzing in some ways, women are better at sympathizing in some ways. And as iron sharpens iron, we help each other
Right.
on this path to deeper empathy. But that's the goal. If I could package it, we've often said, man, if we could just bottle it, can you imagine having a
Empathy
spray,
entrepreneurs.
like a spray
Yeah.
bottle of empathy?
Yeah.
You need some of that right
Yeah.
now, right?
I was
do
going to
too,
say
right?
it would be working, but you want to self-spray, I think,
Yeah.
right? Versus can you get some empathy from me? It could have backfire.
Right.
It brings up another dynamic that I know has been very common this year around conflict. And I know you've studied, read, taught about this throughout the years. And I was just reading, I think the Kaiser Family Foundation found that a third of couples over the past year had reported back a much more increase in conflict
sure.
and what they said a decrease in intimacy. And I was just thinking about there's a family in our neighborhood. It's a young couple with an infant in a home, and they've been at home together this past year, working from home with the baby, and they're having to navigate like who has the infant in their meetings because they both work full time, right? And just like that's going to be a petri dish for conflict.
Oh yeah.
And our family's experienced the same thing this year. So, what are some tools or some ways, especially given what people are working through in this last year, to really say, okay, I want to have empathy, but we got to figure out how to actually do the conflict thing
Right.
alongside of that?
Yeah. Well, that's such an important topic now more than ever.
Right.
Because there's even a name for it, right? COVID quarrels or
Yeah.
COVID
yeah,
quarrels.
yeah. And there has been, the research has shown
Yeah.
Or quarantine quarrels.
Yes.
might
That's
be.
right.
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah. And I mean, look, we started out in crisis and everybody kind of rallies in the beginning of a crisis, but we've hit the anniversary year where we're in the chronic stress phase.
Yeah.
And so, in crisis, there's one kind of thing, people are aware, but then when it gets chronic, it just kind of is a weariness we carry unconsciously in our being. Like you just feel it in your bones. And I think our marriages absorb that. And so we want to give people tools for how can they navigate that.
my favorite verse in Scripture on conflict, Romans 12:18, says, if it's possible, as far as it depends on you, try to live at peace with everyone. And the reason I like that verse so well is I don't know of another verse in all of Scripture. You're the pastor here, so you tell me. But I don't know of another verse in all of Scripture that has more qualifiers in it than that single verse, right? Even Scripture's acknowledging we're going to have conflict, right? If it's possible.
Right.
First, try, give it a shot. Do what you can.
Yeah.
Try to live at peace. But you're going to have conflict. And it doesn't matter how loving you are.
No.
Conflict is a part of it. And so our frame of mind on conflict is that it's a part of life. It's a part of, especially, when we're quarantined and we have more time and we're stepping on each other's toes.
And we have an infant and both have jobs and whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, we don't have an
We
infant
don't have
that
an
I'm aware of.
infant.
Yes,
If anybody was wondering.
There's
no, we don't.
empathy. She's talking about my life.
have two boys.
Feel free to
But
I was
they're
thinking
pretty
of
old,
your
my life.
neighbor, your precious neighbor.
That's right. Oh my goodness.
But
You're
we actually do feel the stress because we do have a college boy who's about to graduate, and we thought we'd made it through this year, but on the precipice
all
of
year.
literally,
So careful.
Yeah, he took his last final and COVID. He
took his literally on the last day of class, took his final exam, went to the nurse for the, they have a weekly thing. He's in Chicago in school and tested positive.
He's now in isolation for all of the
no
senior
graduation.
week, commencement week.
Yeah.
It's all, so I mean, empathy.
Crazy.
We feel it with people, just the unexpectedness and the feeling that this isn't over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the deal. Conflict is the price we pay for deeper intimacy. If you know how to fight a good fight, it can actually bring you closer together. So the goal is not to avoid conflict.
For sure.
Right.
If you do that, you're false, right? You're not being genuine.
Perpetual
Inauthentic.
politeness.
Yeah,
I love
tiptoeing
that.
around.
Yes.
Exactly.
The courtesy, marriage is okay to treat each other lovingly, but you don't want to have the false
And
courtesy.
it used to really bother me, by the way. There is a very small percentage of couples that really don't fight. It's very small.
Yeah.
But they don't fight. And it's because of their DNA. It's their personalities. And they've matched each other. But it used to really bother me when we go speak someplace at a church and speak on conflict. And some couple would come up and go, we've been married for 38 years and we've never had a fight. And, I just wanted to punch them in the jaw. It's like, well, let's fight right now. I'll show you. But because I thought they were lying, but they're not. There's just
is a certain kind, there's a certain type of conflict, personality
we're
that
talking
just
about less
doesn't
than
engage in
3%
it.
of marriages.
Yeah.
The rest of us, we're going to have conflict.
Right.
So how do we use it to our advantage? And there's
To have the good fight, not the destructive fight, because nobody wants to be torn apart by that
So
destructive
say more about
conflict.
that. If you had to qualify, there's two columns. There's good fights and not so good fights, or destructive fighting.
Yeah.
What goes in each
well,
category?
first of all, in a bad fight, somebody is trying to win or has to win, right?
Yeah.
In a good fight, it's not about winning and losing. It's about getting to the other side of the conflict and resolving that.
Together.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had a pretty good illustration for that the other day on soccer when we used to go to millions of soccer games.
I mean, we were talking a little bit before, and you've got a little soccer daughter
Nora's
now.
just learning to play
we have a
soccer.
soccer son. And I think about that all the time. When we get in this moment where I start to feel like, wait a second, you're on a different side than me. I try to remember, no, it's that we're on the same team. We're not opposing each other. And we're trying to volley the problem back and forth like it's a soccer ball. We're trying to solve it together, get that goal, and score on the problem.
Right.
They're the opposing team.
Right.
So whatever the stress is, it's not about us. It's us coming together to somehow be skilled enough to get the problem, and then we can celebrate. We did
And
it.
then that's a big shift for some of us
Yeah.
because I'm a competitive fighter.
Yes,
She's not.
indeed.
I want to win though, and I want to show you why I'm the winner and why you lost. I'm super competitive in my life, and so we don't change our personalities, right?
Right.
And that's one of the reasons we always say there's never been a marriage like yours before, and there never will be again, because God
Yeah.
made you in a certain way with this chemistry and your spouse, and you create this together, this uniqueness, like a fingerprint together.
Right.
And so, but I'm competitive. How would you describe your fight type?
Yeah, I'm engaged. I want to talk about every feeling I have about
Yeah.
this issue, but I don't need to win or persuade. I just need to be heard on every issue.
Right.
Yes, please hear everything
That wears
I
me
have to
down
say.
just hearing him say that again. Okay.
There's a lot of, you've got been on that track a number of times, so I love that you can laugh about it.
But you kind of constantly are trying to perfect your dance in
Yeah.
marriage, right, together. And one of the ideals is to understand your fight type. Let's talk a little bit about fight types.
Yeah, well,
right?
you've already mentioned it's kind of based on your personality. Everyone knows, how flexible am I as a person? In other words, do I have agendas that I really am strongly committed to,
Right.
or am I kind of open?
Right.
So, and what we mean by that, it can be about seemingly insignificant things, how you put dishes in the dishwasher. Some people have an agenda about that. No, you're doing it the wrong way. You need
Yeah.
to scrub it before you need to put and they're going to get involved in that, right?
Yeah.
That is not as flexible as the person's like, well, whatever works for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we're not talking character. We're just talking personality. This doesn't
Exactly,
mean,
right.
if you have agendas, doesn't mean you're not.
And during the
Yeah.
COVID thing, I mean, remember when we used to like microwave our mail? And I mean, it was just like we were nuts, right? And you'd
there
scrub
were
everything.
lots of COVID agendas.
Yes. And we all had agendas at
You
that point.
microwaved your mail?
I did not, but I
come
I
on.
heard that a lot of people in your home did that. But
No.
but we were so hyped up
Yeah.
on it.
Right.
Remember
love
scrubbing
it.
every little handle and so forth.
Yeah,
and
but flexibility just is a natural. And then also, how expressive are you? Some of us need to, made an example of myself, share every feeling we have on whatever the issue is. Other people want to pull in and really think it over internally.
Yeah.
So everyone's different on that
Right.
continuum.
So it's how
Flexibility, expressiveness,
Yeah.
and just being aware of what I'm bringing into the
right. And
Yeah.
so
conversation.
I'm not as flexible as many people. That's what makes me competitive. I
Or
think
most people.
here's the right way to do that. Okay, you want to have it out right here. And I'm also expressive. If there's something that's bothering me, I'm going to tell you. I don't hold it back, right? And there's other people that are just as kind of rigid or not as flexible like me, but they hold it in.
Yeah.
And so, what do we call those people?
Yeah, those people.
Pastors. actually, so. Well, my wife would say, I'll pause that. Sorry, all the pastors out there. I'm more wired that way.
love
So
that.
she'll sense
Yeah.
there's a lot moving in you. Can you say it?
Right.
I'm like, I'm fine. She's like, your furrowed brow does not say that
But
you're
what
fine.
happens? So what's the
Well,
label?
what I always think is I would always think of the attorney kind of,
Right,
because
exactly.
someone who
Interesting.
comes to the conversation fully prepared.
Right.
They don't fight
Examples
until they're ready to fight.
Yeah.
But when they're ready, you better be
Look out.
ready
Yeah.
because they're gonna quote things.
Yeah.
You sat in that very chair last Thursday and you told me,
said-
and they'll have a verbatim of So it's that kind of thing. So understanding your fight type on how flexible you are, how expressive you are.
Right.
We have this book called The Good Fight, and there's these 4 quadrants that you fall into. That awareness is
Yeah.
really curative.
Huge.
You've probably
Yeah.
heard psychologists say this before, but awareness is curative because once you are aware of something, then you can do something about it.
Right.
Our teenage son that lives with us, we have one in college and one at home, and he's in high school. I came into his room, I don't know, a month or 2 ago, and I looked around, and it was like a tornado had been in there, and there were books. He's a huge reader, but he had like 3 guitars. And
Not a believer in bookshelves, just books.
yeah, they're all over the place. And I said, Jackson, look at this room. And he's laying down on his bed and he's reading. And he goes, yeah, what? And I said, look at it. He goes, what do you mean? I said, it's a mess. He goes, it is? Oh, yeah, it is. Wow, it really is crazy in here. And it was like that awareness. And that awareness causes us to change, right? It's like looking in the mirror, seeing spinach on the teeth. Oh, I better do something about that.
Yeah. I want to talk about a dynamic that I've experienced. I know Nina would say she's experienced this with me that goes with conflict. And it's this idea of blame. And I have a friend who has a magnet on his fridge that says, "I didn't say you were wrong. I said I was going to blame you." and then, but get this. And then he said, "My wife put that there." So it's like this meta blaming happening right there. And I just thought, like, that's a perfect picture of, we get in this place where it isn't as much about right or wrong. It's just trying to say, I don't like feeling like it's my fault. I really want it to be your fault. I
Right.
don't like naming my own faults. I really can see yours really clearly. And that gets really caught up in the conflict zone.
Yeah.
How do you help couples navigate this need or tendency to blame, especially in those heated
Love that
moments?
Yeah,
question.
and that all comes back to pride, right? Whenever we do our fight night, one of the things I ask the audience is, how many have ever had a pride fight, right? Well, they're all pride fights. How do you put that in abeyance? And I'll one-up you on that little sticker on the refrigerator. I have a friend who says, humble pie is a pastry that's never tasty, right? And it really is tough to kind of swallow your pride and own your piece of the pie.
And I think, the difference between a good fight and a bad fight is actually ownership, which
Right.
is the opposite of blame.
Yeah.
And you don't have
That's good.
to decide I'm responsible for all this bad going on.
Right.
But you could just own, hey, the way I reacted to you created even more chaos. This has become kind of an emotional mess right in this moment. And you stop blaming and start taking ownership. Like, okay, I'm a part of this mix, and you just shift your focus on what can we do to move past this moment.
Yeah.
And that shift turns a bad fight into a fight that draws you close together.
And Scotty, that is one thing that will instantly turn a fight around. That kind of humility, when you own your piece of the chaos pie in this relationship, it instantly can't help but to change what's going on in the dynamic between us.
It's so powerful. I mean, it's synergistic because other good things flow in. When you start to take ownership, empathy flows. We've already
Right.
talked about that.
Yeah.
Every respect, just, because you're not now belittling someone by blaming them.
Yeah.
You're now offering respect, and we're peers in this moment.
And it shifts you from trying to win the fight. So
Exactly.
a cooperative spirit begins to emerge within the context of our relationship.
And it's so contagious because once I start taking ownership, it's heart melting. You almost can't hold your ground and say, okay, well, it is all your fault.
Yeah.
It's just a very natural
and
contagion.
God made us with these things called mirror neurons that are so powerful that when our spouse gives us something like that
a
spirit,
gift like that spirit of ownership.
we find it within ourselves and we tend to give it back.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen all the time, but there's that predilection so
Thanks
often.
to the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're also, this is when things really go off the rail, but deep in our brain is this thing called the amygdala. And that's where all of our, intense emotions reside. And if that gets triggered, it's the kind of, the easiest example is road rage, right? Where somebody just loses it because you veered into their lane a little bit or something, right? Their amygdala, it gets hijacked. And the same thing happens sometimes in a relationship for some
Right.
of us where we just lose it. And those are the toughest times to come back and own your piece of the pie.
It's like you just can't think in those moments
Right.
because that part of your brain's not firing.
That's
at all.
right.
You're
And-
just
and
in
that's
that
when you need a
space.
break. That's when you need some space to regroup. The research shows about 30 minutes will take care of that, where you can have some perspective to come back into the relationship after a 30-minute kind of.
Yeah. So it's okay to pause and say, actually, I need to walk away, get a timeout, cool
Oh,
off.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And saying it that way, I mean, you're an A student because that's a great way to say it. Just getting out and withdrawing yourself in a punishing way doesn't accomplish that. But
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Well, I should give credit on that one. Nina does that better than me because she's more expressive. So she'll say, I want to take a break or come back to that one. And again, because I can just stew and brood on stuff, which isn't super great. But it's an important dynamic. One of the things I'll often tell couples just around blame and accountability kind of stuff is, I'm 0% accountable for what you're responsible for, but I'm 100% accountable for what I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
And, it gets messy in the middle to figure out where that line is.
Yeah.
But just the posture of saying, like, I have to own my stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for
And by the
couples to
way,
do that
when you
together.
take a time out, like we said, there's nothing wrong with that. The research shows what's really important that most people forget on that is let your partner know when the timeout is going to end.
Yeah.
So I need until tomorrow.
Right.
After my project is done at work, or I need after dinner, I need to just, not be so hungry. give some kind of a deadline to that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some people, especially with our personalities, we've seen couples that are like one person will retreat because they are not into conflict, and the other's like me, an aggressive kind of fighter.
And just can't let them retreat. They just
Yeah.
want to go after it.
And so they'll follow them around the house.
Yeah.
The other person's going around shutting doors, and eventually they end up in the bathroom, and the other person's like, you got to come out of there someday. I'm going to be here, right? But let that person know, I need a timeout, and I'm going to regroup, but I will talk to you in 30 minutes or in 4 hours or whatever.
I laugh because it's, for us conflict avoiders like me, it's like, I'm going to take a little break and then I'll never come back. Like, it's kind of like,
right.
I'll get back. So just, you got to have a place to come back and address
Exactly.
that.
A
Right.
break.
Yeah, exactly. So shift gears a little bit. And this one I think has been a challenge for, I know in my marriage this year and for a lot of marriages, but it actually is not just about the hard stuff like conflict or blame or the fights we have, but just the importance of play. And the importance of creating joy. And I know going through a hard season, it's like, we're working at home, we got kids at home, we don't have help, we got no babysitters around, there's no restaurants to go to for a date night. So it's like, I know, I'm venting about my life. But anyway, how do
Gonna have to
couples
charge you here in a minute,
creatively lean into play? And because again, it's easy to get in the mode of like everything's now a serious challenge.
Right.
Right.
And there are moments like that, but that actually can be kind of a cycle where we don't get to come up for air and say,
Right.
we can still have fun and enjoy each other. And that's actually part of the solution out of some of those cycles.
Right.
I love this topic
I do
because just
too.
a couple days ago, we were waiting for a ferry downtown Seattle, headed over to an island, and Jackson, our high school son, was in the car too. During the pandemic, one of the things I have recently done is focused on breathing. And I've never done this before. I've never been good at meditation and that discipline and so forth.
You're a little bit too urgent.
But yes, and like all I can do is think of my to-do list while I'm meditating, and that's what I'm going to do. But I did this little app on breathing, just breathing in, breathing out for 2 minutes and focusing, and I found it to be really helpful. And so anyway, we're in our car, we're waiting for the ferry, and I said, hey, I want to do my breathing exercise. You guys want to join me? And they're like, yeah, whatever, And so I'm trying to get it going, but it's going through the car, like it's not syncing right, through the thing. And I'm getting really frustrated.
Yeah, not breathing anymore. It's all getting tight inside. Yeah.
Right. And Jackson, they start talking. I said, you guys, would you be quiet? I'm trying to get centered and focused so I can be a
So I can
better
breathe
person.
and have some joy in the car. Oh, it's so good.
So we all laugh so hard on that.
Oh, I mean, and actually, I love that example because ownership and awareness is really playful.
Yeah.
It's so relieving when
Right.
somebody just owns
Just
their
to go, I'm an
moment.
idiot.
Yeah.
What am I thinking?
And we
Yeah.
all, and that gave us permission to just laugh. We had the most playful
Right.
laughter we'd had in a
We
long
laughed
time.
pretty hard
it was
about
so good.
Yeah.
But I love that question. And play is huge. And the thing, what makes something playful, you always think about grand gestures, which are not available
Right.
in so many ways right now.
Right.
It's just really hard to do a grand gesture. So really playful is anything unexpected that is just to
Yeah.
delight. And our family, has had to get creative about play. We have as a couple.
Right.
Yeah.
Since we never did this before the pandemic,
Yeah.
but we started watching Jeopardy. and
Nerds play.
but our son loves it, and it's
Yeah,
like we
'cause
get
we get
into it.
competitive
Like it's after
about-
dinner every
Yeah.
night.
We
We're
can
watching
guess
Jeopardy.
it.
But it's the kind of thing where we pause it, and we all we take
Debate. You get a lot of time to answer
right,
the question.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're not playing in real time.
Yeah.
And but we've had a lot of fun with that. That's been a nice playful
Yeah.
thing. too.
And just
So true.
But honestly, to turn anything just normal into a playful moment. Like you mentioned, we'd taken a ferry ride, but we've been trying to, we walk together. We've been trying to just ferry over and walk on an uncharted piece of land
Yeah.
and explore it.
Find a
Yeah.
beach we haven't been to or
Yeah.
what have you.
It's a posture of my
Yeah.
attitude, my heart, my just desire to say, I want to experience joy with you right now.
Right.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be, again, this grand thing. So important.
And
Yeah.
that can be a real challenge for some of us because it is so intense with trying to, battle what we've all been going through for the last year.
And we have to be intentionally recreational now in
Yeah.
the way that we haven't before.
That's
yeah,
right.
which feels like, okay, another thing.
It does.
But the gift is worth it.
right.
Well,
right.
and we've been discovering, we were just talking about this yesterday because we discovered so many new places to go take hikes and walks and stuff during this that have been like really opened up our spirit.
Yeah, I mean, really and truly, we've discovered parks after 30 years. We didn't know we're in Seattle. And
Like 10 minutes from our house.
Yeah, and we're like, how have we missed this?
So good.
So it doesn't take much.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking right now for those who are watching, a lot of them are in people in lots of different places.
Mhm.
And some marriages may feel like, hey, we've gotten stronger and closer. Others maybe not so much this
Yeah.
year. But one of the things that we say here at Northshore a lot is Jesus can change everything
Mm.
for anyone. And part of what that means in this conversation is that Jesus can change everything for any marriage.
Love that.
And for folks who are thinking, I feel like we just got to a much lower level. We've been really struggling. I feel like I may not say it, but I just want to give up or walk out, or I'm just too beaten down, or I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. What would you want to say to a person or even a couple who feels like I'm just kind of at the end of my rope here? What can I hang on to for hope? What's my next step? What can I hang on to for hope?
Well, first of all, I love that.
Yeah. And hope is the only thing that's more contagious than this contagion we've been
It's
battling,
true.
right? Because you bring a little seedling of hope that you nurture into the relationship. And we've seen this time and time again
Mhm.
with couples where it feels like it's hopeless. It
Mm.
feels like, I don't know if we can take another step forward together. I don't know that I can draw on the strength to do that. If you bring a little bit of hope into that, it begins to blossom. It really does.
And you know what? Here's the incredible thing. I don't know how it works, but it does work. And maybe this is the God-sized part of the miracle of leaning into covenants and commitments. It doesn't take dramatic change to make you deeply more content and delighted with your marriage. It literally takes the smallest changes.
Yeah.
And that sometimes we feel like things are so bleak, one day, and then all you do is introduce playfulness.
Yeah.
And it makes such a difference in your spirit. You have the courage to take the next step.
It's a little bit like a mobile that hangs
Yeah.
from the ceiling. And it's at rest and there's equilibrium until you come by and you just kind of tap one of those pieces or you move one of them. And then it just kind of shakes wildly for a little bit until it finds its new equilibrium.
Mhm.
And that's why it is so hopeful in a relationship because only one person needs to create a slightly new dance step
Mhm.
for that relationship. Because when your partner begins to do something a little bit differently in the dynamic of the relationship, you go, oh, I guess I better change too, right? I don't want to be stepping on each other's toes either. And so we tend to change because of that.
It's
But
freeing.
it is
One
freeing.
person makes one good decision, and the ripple effects are profound.
The Apostle Paul called it hope. Psychologists call it optimism,
Mhm.
right? And there's been a lot of research on this. I mean, a mountain of research on this, starting with a guy named Martin Seligman back at the University of Pennsylvania. And it is transformative when we no longer look at the world through this lens of personalization that
Something's wrong with me
yeah,
or my
something's-
marriage.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Or that it's pervasive, that it's always going to be this way and it's never going to change. That mindset will shut you down, right?
Mhm.
And so we have to make a shift in that perspective that it's not just about me. I can do something.
And when you're able to say, oh, okay, marriages are really taking a hit. There's been a tsunami we've had to absorb. Of course it's hard. And when you're able to say, well, this is how it feels today, but I know that tomorrow can be different.
Right.
Yeah.
That's hope. That's optimism.
That's the power of hope.
Yeah.
Right. And that God walks through us in that. And he actually is the author of a lot of those little small steps.
Absolutely.
And so much of the Holy Spirit's work in our lives is not those big dramatic, there's
Yes.
moments,
Yes.
but it's that little shift or the
Mhm.
little decision or the little lean in or the little playful remark or the little act of physical touch that can turn it around. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, again, all the couples watching who may just need a little step like that.
A little
And
one.
that this weekend could be a time where it's like, this could be just that little step for you to have some hope.
Yeah, it's all about moving from bad to better and from good to great. And wherever you are on that continuum,
Mhm.
it's just another step.
Another
It's
step.
that little, every pastor has used this illustration of the either the train tracks or the airplane that just moves 1 degree and it completely changes the destination.
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
Because as you travel over time. And it's very true. That's why we use that illustration. It's
Yeah.
so true in our relationships.
Well, thank you again for being here. Just super rich conversation and a joy to get to spend time with you. And just, it's going to bless a lot of people. So thank you so much.
It's been our honor.
Yeah.
And again, blessings on you and this church, because you guys do an incredible
Yes, you do.
work up here. And we're honored to be a part of it today.
Thank you. Hey, I just want to share a quick word for all of you watching right now, especially if you're in that moment where you're thinking, you know, I'm not sure things can change. I'm not sure there's hope. I'm not sure that I have what it takes, or my spouse has what it takes, or the person I'm in a relationship has, that they have what it takes. I'm not sure what to do next. Let me tell you, friends, God has the power to heal, to restore, to rebuild, to repair, to renew even the most broken, painful, messy situations. There is no relationship or marriage right now that is out of God's reach, not even one, and especially not yours. Some of you may be sitting watching right now thinking, okay, what do we do? What's our next step? Well, here it is. First of all, come back next Sunday. Don't make any major decisions. Come back next Sunday. Be connected. And if you need help, if you need someone to talk to reach out to, you can actually text My Marriage to 97000 right now, or sometime today, or this week, when you're not in that moment and you need to have someone that you can connect to. We would love to follow up and connect with you, because the truth is, no one can do this thing called relationship alone. You need help, and we love to walk with you. And finally, you need to know that there is a God who is good, a God who has grace, a God who invented this whole thing called a relationship and marriage and commitment and covenant. And he stands ready. He stands ready to be with you and walk with you and love you and help you and support you. So we're going to take a moment right now and just offer our hearts and our lives and our worship to him. The God who saved us once, he can do it again. He can do it again in your life and in your marriage, in your relationship. And so we're going to pray, because Jesus can do it again. He can do it again. So let's sing that right now.
I've seen you move, you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move, you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made
Well, thank you all again so much for joining us, and a big thank you to Doctors Les and Leslie Parrott for sitting down with Scotty and having that conversation. I know that has just really uplifted me and given me some things to really chew on this week and work through in my own marriage.
Yeah, it's encouraging, but also challenging.
Yeah.
And I think I just want to say that if you're finding yourself challenged by what they said, or you find yourself in a tense or tenuous spot in your marriage, that you're just looking for someone to come alongside you or some help and resources, we would love to help you with that. So you can just text My Marriage to 97,000, and we'll have someone from our care team reach out to you this week. We're here for you, and we'd love to support you.
Yeah, so good. Well, we can't wait to see you back next week, same time, same place, right back here at Northshore Online. We'll see you then.